LATD, what is good? Once again, we are back in the studio with a brand new episode. And as you can see, things are a little bit different today. So with it being Halloween, October, whatnot, welcome to the very first LATD annual Spooktacular, where all month long we will be giving you movie reviews of horror movies, new and old. So be on the lookout for that.
Yes, sir.
And for our first review of this Halloween season,
We will be looking at the details of.
not exactly a horror movie, but a
They're
movie
close
that was,
enough.
maybe in some way, shape, or form in the vein of a horror movie. Joker, Folie A Deux.
Yeah, full of bullshit. Excuse me. Joker Folie A Deux.
Oh man, so I'm sure most of y'all watching this by now know that this movie has been very mixedly received, to say the least. And we're just gonna go ahead and get right into it. Background: I'm a huge Batman fan. Batman is my favorite superhero of all time.
Same.
And
Not superhero fan, not favorite superhero, but I'm a Batman fan as well.
but contrary to popular belief, and contrary to what most people think of the original Joker, I always thought it was a very average movie. Never really thought it was anything special like it's been made out to be. So, not to say that it's not to say it's a bad movie. It's a solid movie. I just personally don't care for the movie like that. I feel like it's very overrated.
Yeah, I agree.
feel like it's an incredible performance in an otherwise very average film. But most people don't seem to think that way. I've always been in the minority because whenever I say that, they look at me like I'm crazy or whatnot. They look at me, like I am lost, all sense of reality. But
Right. I agree. Like, I didn't think it was terrible. Of course it wasn't. I didn't even think it was bad. I thought it was good.
yeah, it's a good movie.
But I'm not about to sit here and
It's overrated, though.
sing its praises all the time. Like, it's, oh my gosh, it's this best movie of all time. Joaquin Phoenix did his thing. The story was pretty good. I like the take on the Joker, but I'm not gonna sit here and kiss this movie's tail like it's like it's Spider-Verse or something.
I saw the movie twice in theaters when it first came out, and I believe that was October 2019.
Right.
And like I said, I watched it twice. First time it was okay. Second time, I felt about the same.
Right.
Haven't really engaged with the movie much since. I've seen it a little bit whenever it's on TV, but I never watch it straight through.
Right.
So yeah, and to be real with you, I can't say that I wasn't intrigued by Joker Folie A Deux because it's Batman. So I'm gonna inherently be interested in Batman to a degree, even though technically it's Joker without Batman. But I'm always excited for anything that has to do with Batman. The Batman, in fact, the Batman Part 2 is my most anticipated movie of 2026.
Word.
At least that's been announced. I can't wait for that movie. But yeah, so with Joker Folie A Deux, I think one of the biggest controversies or storylines around this movie was really concerning the musical aspect of it. Now, I think a lot of people weren't aware of the fact that this movie was a musical, and this is something that I have to kind of defend-ish to a degree. I think people didn't expect it to be, but it was announced relatively long ago that this movie would be a musical.
Right.
Now, do I agree with that decision in any way, shape, or form? No.
Shit.
I think starting off, getting into the negatives, because there are a lot.
No. Let's say that for later. That's the best part of the video. Let's say those.
Well, then you go ahead. You talk about the positives, because.
So the positives are the positives. One thing I can say about the positives, the visuals are really good. Like it's top notch quality as far as the cinematography is concerned. The performances are really good.
And
yeah, that's it. That's kind of all I got.
Nah.
I mean, there's some other things. Like I like some of the messaging in it. Because this gonna be a spoiler review, by the way.
Oh, for sure.
'Cause
you can't talk about this movie without mentioning spoilers.
Exactly. We only watched it because for the content. Like y'all don't need to go see this shit.
Nah, for real. We saw this movie, so y'all don't have to be honest.
Exactly.
This movie, first of all, it takes place 2 years after the events of the original, which I'm sure most people remember how it ended. with Arthur going on the Murray Franklin show and unaliving him. Unaliving him, YouTube.
Just say killed, man.
Unaliving. Not trying to get demonetized here. But yeah, no. So at the end of the movie, Joker, Arthur Fleck unalives Murray Franklin in front of all of Gotham City and sends it into a state of panic.
Right.
And after that, he's arrested and brought into custody in Arkham Asylum, which of course that's a familiar name to anybody who's familiar with Batman in any way, shape, or form. And to be real with you, the way that the original Joker ended, it really didn't need a sequel, in my opinion, because it did a really good job. Because if you remember, Bruce Wayne's parents are killed at the end of the movie, which of course is very much in line with the lore of how he becomes Batman. And Arthur being arrested after having became the Joker, it gives a lot of ambiguity into the idea of like, now we know eventually Bruce Wayne is gonna grow up to become the Batman. Is he gonna be fighting this Joker, or is there gonna be another Joker based on the people that he's inspired and inspired them to take on his persona or his moniker or whatever? So it leaves a lot of room for ambiguity. It didn't really need a sequel, but Hollywood saw that this movie made $1 billion, so they were like, yeah, let me go ahead and see what we can do with this movie.
Right, I agree. I think the only reason why this movie was even created is because Warner Brothers just pushed for it. I don't even think the director even wanted to make it, to be honest.
To be real with you, because there's a rumor going on that Todd Phillips, the director, after having saw the reception of the first one, as far as like what audience in particular received it well, there's a rumor going around that he actually went out of his way to pretty much anger and alienate the fan base of the original. And if that's the case, he understood the assignment, because Joker, a Folie A Deux is... And what's frustrating about this movie is that it's not all bad. Like you said, the performances are really good. The cinematography is great. The production value is all there. But what makes this movie so bad is just like the way it wastes its potential.
Yeah.
Every single time.
But like you said, I think that was the point, though.
Yeah, because in the movie, Arthur, it's 2 years later, he's on trial for the crimes he committed in the previous movie. And that's basically it. There really isn't a very intriguing or interesting plot. I mean, of course, most people know Lady Gaga plays Harley in the movie. It's a different take on Harley, but she isn't utilized very well. And the thing is that a lot of people have said that, and when I read the reviews in which that was mentioned, I thought that she wasn't used well in the sense that she's not in the movie very much. No, she's there. It's just that the way that they use her, in my opinion, doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
I agree.
She doesn't really embody the Harley Quinn that we expect, which, I mean, that's fine, because at the end of the day, this is a different take on the character. But the way that she's used just feels so... It just feels so pointless. She's not like his partner in crime. She's not anything you would expect. Basically, the plot of the movie is that she's manipulating Arthur the entire time to be the joke. Because at the beginning of the movie, Arthur is pretty much rendered in a state of depression. Like, he doesn't hardly speak. He doesn't have anything to really add to any conversation. He's just kind of there. And when he meets Lee, who is a patient in one of the wings in Arkham, that kind of brings him back to life and kind of brings him out of this state of depression and despair. But what happens throughout the movie is that basically every single thing that he does is because of her. Every decision he makes, everything he says while he's on trial is through manipulation. So the problem with that is that it feels like Arthur, we don't even know his perspective on his situation. We don't even really know what his thought process is throughout the whole trial, throughout the whole of anything going on in the movie, because everything he does is for her. So it really just feels like it's not even his movie without it actually being Harley's movie, if that makes sense. It just feels like just doesn't make any sense in the way that they told this story.
Right, and I 100% agree, man. like one thing I will say, I do like the compare and contrast in this movie with the previous one, with it being that nobody really cared about Arthur, everybody cared about Joker. This is a dude who is pretty much on trial for quintuple murder. So and has everybody's support when he puts on the makeup, when he puts on the show. Everybody wants to see a spectacle. Now, this is what I was talking about. One of my personal positives that I like how they just pretty much said that everybody loves Joker, but nobody likes Arthur.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's actually one aspect of the movie that I really did like was, you know,
when he was. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
You're good. I like that aspect of it basically being this thing where it's like him being Joker and him being Arthur Fleck. The movie toys with this idea of it being two separate people, like it being like a case of split identity.
Right.
And that's actually what his lawyer wants to plead as, you know, reason of insanity.
Right, that he has dissociative identity disorder
or
multiple personality disorder.
Essentially, yes. So she basically wants him to, in a way, renounce being Joker. She basically wants, well, I guess not necessarily renounce, but kind of disassociate Arthur from being Joker. She wants to make the argument that it's a completely different person in order for him to not be given the death penalty, which he is on trial for.
Right.
And Lee comes around and kind of manipulates the trial and kind of manipulates everything to say, oh yeah, no, you are the Joker, because she's pretty much the one that wants to, she's intrigued and it's to your point, she's intrigued by Joker rather than Arthur.
Right. Because that's the same thing when that in line with the first movie as well, when he was just Arthur Fleck, beat down on a daily basis, disrespected, treated like crap on a daily basis. But when he became Joker, he got his confidence back. He got swagger. And he wants to pretty much do anything he wants. People love him. People see him as a martyr. People see him as a hero. And to be honest, that's like I said, that's the only thing that captivated me about this movie, because the lesson of everybody wants to see you as a spectacle, but when they see the real you, nobody cares.
Exactly. And that's one of the best aspects of that. Really is the best aspect of this movie, because
when you acting a clown, you know what I'm saying? When you acting a clown, essentially, yeah, when you acting a clown,
everybody loves you. When you are putting on the circus, everybody loves you. But then when it's, you know, time to analyze the person behind the makeup, nobody wants to do so.
Exactly. And that's what happens at the end of this movie, because he even admitted, like, it took, and my thing is, when I saw this, I'm like, it took all that for him to finally see the error of his ways.
Yeah.
Because, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No. And not to sound jumbled, y'all, because, I mean, to be real, this movie is extremely jumbled. The thing is that we sound jumbled because we're describing a jumbled movie. The movie
exactly
just jumps from one idea to the next. It wrestles with Arthur and the Joker persona. It wrestles with the romance. It wrestles with the courtroom procedure and the morality of everything that he's done. And it's just like this movie, and this is one thing I thought about when I got home last night after seeing this movie. This movie is like a bad modern Eminem song, in the sense that it says a whole lot of nothing. Say a bunch of things.
Except for that one thing.
Facts. Say so much without saying anything. It just feels like a very jumbled, just babblish movie, like with no point, no way of articulating itself properly. There's no through line with this movie. It just feels like it's so all over the place. And not to cut you off.
Go ahead.
The biggest reason for this, in my opinion, is the fact that it's a musical.
Yeah,
that's the biggest thing about this movie, because and you can attest to this. Every single time there was a moment where it's like, okay, I'm starting to get invested in this movie a little bit.
They were undercut it with a
musical.
They
were undercut it with singing. It's like
with a musical number, yeah.
Exactly. Literally, they'd be in the middle of this ultra serious moment where he's talking about how he unalived his mom, and now he's going into like, man, what? Like, what is you doing? Like, why are you undercutting something like that with this?
It's kind of like the same thing with MCU.
I'm like, I said, is you singing? Why? You just talked about how you unalived your own mother, and now he's breaking out in the song and dance. It just is stupid.
One thing I can say too is just that the musicals just brought this movie down.
Oh,
man.
and the
like
music, to be real with you, really ain't that good. That's another
ain't.
thing.
But apparently, it was on purpose for Lady Gaga. According to Double Toasted, shouts out to them. According to according to Double Toasted, Lady Gaga and Joaquin Phoenix were supposed to sing off key. I guess to make it real.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like it sounds like if you're gonna have them sing, at least have it like be listened. Like it just sounded horrible. It just and like I said,
I thought it sounded okay, to be honest.
In parts, yes, it did, but it's just like the issue with this movie is that one, the plot itself, just on face value, there's not a whole lot going on. There's very little actually going on in terms of the overall plot of this movie. Basically, he's just on trial. He for most of the movie, he's in jail. He's getting beaten around. He's getting treated like trash.
Right. He even got. I can't say it on here, but
yeah, it's implied.
It's a super heavy scene, and but that's what I was talking about when I said it took all that for you to see the error, for him to see the error of his ways.
But yeah, no, it's
super heavy, disturbing.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie. I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy.
Nah, facts.
But anyway, continue, bro.
But yeah, it's like this movie, just on face value, doesn't have a very interesting plot. It doesn't know how to move its plot forward because there isn't inherently that much anyways. All it is essentially he's in jail. He goes to trial, comes back, and it's just wash, rinse, repeat. Like, this narrative doesn't have the potential that the original had, in my opinion, because with the original, it's intriguing watching a man go from something completely normal, like just a regular person in society, to becoming the Joker.
Right.
To becoming the Joker as we know him. So that's a very interesting plot. But the problem is that with this movie, he's already the Joker. So you can't really play into that as much. I mean, it would have been interesting if they had explored a lot more of like the societal effects that he's had on Gotham, like the ramifications that have come with the Joker being in Gotham City. But that's only kind of from an outside perspective. We mostly only see that from inside a jail cell or inside a courtroom. Like, we don't really see the effect that he's had on the city.
Right.
So it doesn't really feel like it just, that would have been a good natural evolution of it. It's like we get to see the effects of what he did, like what he started, because it's shown that he has all these supporters and all these people around him, but we don't see it from within the city itself. So it just feels like we hear a whole lot about it, but we don't see it. Yeah. And I think that would have been a good way for them to continue that. It's like, what has been the ramifications of the Joker existing in Gotham City? And I feel like that would have just been a much better plot point than, oh, he's just the Joker and he's on trial.
Right. Exactly. Like, when I mention all the time, like, the whole lesson that this movie has, like, there's a lot more positives that like, personally for me, I didn't hate this movie.
I didn't either until the very end, which we'll talk about.
I didn't hate this movie really at all, to be honest. It was just boring, man. Like, because every time it would get good, it would get gritty. It's like you said, they would always undercut it with a whole musical number like the MCU does with its comedy.
It was just a very, not to cut you off, it was just a very, it just like, it was so tonally inconsistent.
Tone deaf, yeah.
It was just.
Ironically.
That's what I'm saying. It was just such a tone deaf movie. A movie that, because the thing about the original Joker that worked was because of the despair, because it really made you feel like you were just in this terrible reality with Arthur. But now we're in this movie where and then another thing that really made the musical numbers dumb was that you didn't know whether he was actually singing in real life or whether it was just in his head. A lot of the time, you don't even know.
Well, I'm sure it was in his head.
No, there are scenes actually where you can tell that he's actually singing. Because the way that people are reacting to it, they're like, is this nigga singing? Like, what's he doing? It was in the scene where he was getting interviewed. You see the interview, you look at him what's going on here?
Yeah.
Why are you singing?
I'm yeah.
And then you also got to think when she breaks the TV, when she breaks the display case that has the TV, like the windows.
Oh
in
yeah,
the TV store.
Okay, I remember now.
Yeah. Like you see on the screen of the TV that she takes that he is singing. So that's not made up. That's something that actually happened, and they even reference it that he'd been singing.
Okay.
They even reference it because even at the end of the movie, when Arthur comes home back to his apartment and Lee is there and she starts singing, he's like, I don't want to sing no more. I'm tired of singing. Let's not sing anymore.
Right.
So that means that there have been parts in this movie where he's actually singing. They're actually singing. Yeah. So it's just like, that just makes it even dumber because it's just like, why in the world would you be singing in a situation like, imagine in the original Joker if he got beaten up and everything. Imagine if in the original Joker like with the train scene and everything with them people that he unalived. After that he breaks into song and dance. Just imagine how ridiculous
he did one out of the two. He broke into dance, but I have a dream that I just got.
It's so ridiculous. Like, and it just leads me to believe that Todd Phillips
have a
was
gun,
trolling.
And it sure enough is fun. Pow pow.
Like, it just leads me to believe that Todd Phillips for real was actually. I think he was trolling for real.
Oh yeah, he definitely was.
Imagine being handed $200 million to just waste it, to just throw it away.
But the thing is, he didn't want to make. I don't think he wanted to make this movie anyway.
I don't think he did, to be honest.
Because man, you can kind of tell. Like he puts effort into making it look good, probably so the Warner Brothers execs would get off his back about it. But when he the story, all the musical numbers, man, and the tap dancing in the movie too, I'm like kind of laughing with him because it's like ain't no way.
That's what I'm saying. I feel like he was trolling because there's no way.
I'm sorry, bro. I'm going to cut you off.
No, you're good.
But then Arthur sings, "For once in my life, I have somebody who needs me." I forgot who sang it originally, but I know a rendition of it is by Stevie Wonder. I'm like, why are you singing this? Because he met Harley Quinn?
That's what I'm saying. But and the thing that's just so dumb, you gotta think. I feel like Warner Brothers, like, as much as we hear about studio interference, I don't think that anybody tapped Todd Phillips on the shoulder and said, hey, you know what, Joker 2, musical.
Facts.
Make it. There's no way that happened. So he sat down and made this movie a musical on purpose. He knew what he was doing.
Right. That's what I respect about it, though. Like, power to, like, stick it to the man.
Stick
it to the man. Power to the people. You feel me?
It's just a big middle finger to Warner Brothers and just the fan base of the original movie, in my opinion.
He said, bet. If you going to make me do this, okay. I'll give you a movie.
No, that's what he said. He said, and no, this is what he said. I say this all the time. He said, you want to act an ass, I'll act one with you. I really think that's what he did. Because there ain't no way that these people commissioned a $200 million musical sequel to Joker. One of the highest grossing R-rated movies of all time. He did this on purpose.
Oh, yeah. No.
He for sure did this on purpose.
Because the thing is, if he wanted to make those musical numbers of high production value, he could have.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
He very much well
That's
could.
what I'm
With
saying.
$200 and something million, man, he could have did that.
And it's sad, too, because this Joker, there was so much potential. Like, contrary, regardless of where this movie ends up, like how it affects Joaquin Phoenix's legacy as the Joker, I think that he is still, performance-wise, one of the best Jokers we've ever seen. Fact. I think so. I think in terms of like the way he embodies the character, the way that he embodies the change to the Joker, I don't think there's many people who have executed it as well as he has. And it's just unfortunate to see that all of his efforts, because Joaquin very clearly is throwing himself into this movie, into this role 100%.
Oh, yeah.
Because there's one scene in particular that we both really like, that we both agree is the best scene in the movie, where he's in the courtroom as Joker.
Right. And talking to his friend, Puddles, or former friend.
Yeah.
The short guy.
And it was just amazing to just see just how he's got the mannerisms down, how he just has, the charisma, the unsettling, just the very disturbing element of the Joker down to a T.
Right. He even started talking like Foghorn Leghorn. Well, I said, sir.
Yeah. It really just shows how much potential he really had if they had given him a better movie to work with, because that is the best scene in this movie. And ultimately, just like everything else, it leads to nowhere. And so now we got to talk about this ending, because, boy, when I tell you this ending is bad,
I didn't care.
This is one of the worst endings I've seen to a comic book movie in at least 10, I'd say 5 to 10 years. I'm not even kidding, because, and spoiler alert, of course, this has already been a spoiler review. Arthur dies at the end of this movie. Mm-hmm. Matter of fact, let me rewind. So in his last court appearance, where they intend to sentence Arthur, he is, as they're sentencing him, and they do, of course, because in that scene, in that moment, he admits that the Joker persona is all a lie. It's all a facade. It's always been him playing a character. Mm-hmm. It really is him as Arthur Fleck. And so that right there, contradicts everything that his lawyer originally set up to use as a way to get him out of, serving the death penalty, or serving, a life sentence, or the death penalty, or whatever the case may be. So in the middle of the sentencing, just randomly out of nowhere, a bomb goes off. There was no indication that this was going to happen. There was no, foreshadowing. It just out of nowhere, a bomb goes off. And Arthur actually escapes. And he's aided by 2 of his followers. But he gets out of the car that they're driving away in, and he runs back to his apartment. And on the steps, as he's walking, he sees Lee. And Lee, she renounces Arthur and completely abandons him because he renounced the Joker persona, further emphasizing the fact that nobody cares about Arthur, they only care about Joker. And she also mentions that she lied to him about her pregnancy, because that was another point in the movie that was, I guess, kind of a major thing that, again, wasn't really done well whatsoever. It was kind of there and then was just kind of gone. And so we get to that. She leaves, and then he gets arrested again, and he gets thrown back in Arkham. And then the next day, he has a visitor. We don't know who it is, because as he's getting ready to walk to the visiting area, there's just some random prisoner that we don't know about, don't know nothing about at all, stabs him in the middle of telling him a joke. So Arthur just dies. He just bleeds out. And so it's just like, after everything we've seen, after all of this morality and ambiguity, all this buildup, essentially he just is killed for no reason. And it just ends so very much on an anticlimactic note, which is saying something, because this movie was already disappointing as it could be. And then as he's bleeding out, the person that stabs him has the audacity to carve a smile in his face, almost in, sort of a way paying homage, if you want to call it, to Heath Ledger's Joker. You break that down, because, I don't know.
Well, I didn't know what else to say. I say I didn't care, but I'm like, I'm not mad or anything. I'm just like
disappointed.
Why?
What was the purpose?
I'm just like, I kind of get it. Like in universe, I get it. He made fun of the guards and everything like that, which they kind of deserve to be made fun of anyway.
Oh, for sure they did.
But that's neither here nor there. He made fun of the guards, so they set him up to get, But you make this dude out to be you beat him down, build him up, just to break him down again.
And break him down for good, because yawn.
This is exactly why we didn't need a sequel.
Because it just feels like the story was told. There was nowhere else for it to go. He very clearly didn't write this movie with any sequel in mind. And so this movie just feels like it was made solely for a cash grab, because it just leaves off in a place where it just doesn't make any sense. Like it feels like his arc was already completed, and then they just went back and they just added more that didn't need, like that. That's why ambiguity sometimes is a great thing. That's why not everything needs a sequel, because it was an open and closed narrative with the first one. You know, it ended with him being the Joker and the implication that Bruce Wayne would eventually become Batman. So at that point, you don't need anything other than that. You don't need it.
I'm gonna be real,
because you can't. And not to cut you off, my fault. You good? Because the first movie worked well as a Joker movie, and without Batman, like a standalone Joker movie, it worked well because it was a movie about him becoming the Joker. Right. It worked well because he starts the movie as Arthur and he ends up becoming Joker, and then we see an implication that Bruce Wayne is eventually going to become the Batman, and they're going to face off like they always do. We didn't need any furthering of that narrative, like, because now you're running into Joker 2, and now we've got a movie where he's already the Joker, but there's still no Batman. So what are we doing here? It doesn't make any sense. So now you've got yin existing without yang, in a way that it just doesn't work the same.
Because the whole point of the Joker is to have Batman.
Exactly. It's like the whole thing with their relationship is that one can't exist without the other, because even in like the Dark Knight Returns, you know, if anybody has seen that, he's actually read it, yeah, of course. He's actually, the Joker is there, but it's like he's in this coma. He's like in this catatonic, comatose state or whatever.
Almost like a vegetable.
Yeah, because Batman has disappeared for like 10 years or something like that. And then when Bruce becomes Batman again, Joker becomes Joker again.
Yeah, it goes on a massive killing spree and everything. Like,
so yeah.
Shoot, a fun fact, that's what the whole Murray Franklin show in the first movie was based on, the Dark Knight Returns. But with that being said, bros, like and sisters, but I didn't really care about him dying. Like I see where he was probably going with it, like it being like a passing of the torch.
But that just feels like, why? Like, that's just not necessary.
Right, exactly. I didn't like it. Other than the never meet your heroes type of life lesson they're giving, I don't really care much for this movie.
Yeah, no, I mean,
there's nothing really. I'm not mad. I'm not happy. I'm not really anything. This movie was nothing, and for my rating, I'm giving it a walkout, because I could have just walked out of this movie and.
Nah, for real. Matter of fact, I need a new rating. I give this a fall asleep on in the theater. That's what I give it. That's how disappointing this movie was. It just.
Well, you could have. Okay. All right,
there's so much about this movie that doesn't work, and very little that does. Right. But what does work is really what already worked with the first one. So at that point, you might as well just watch the original again.
Truth be told, like, if anything, I'll put it in my own head canon that this ain't canon.
Nah, for real. Literally. Because like I said, this movie was proof that not everything needs a sequel. A Joker without Batman can only work so well.
Right. As an origin story.
This is a perfect example. Like I said, it worked better before because it was an origin story, and it told the story of how, you know, like, because we all know it's based on the Killing Joke. Right. And for the most part, Batman isn't really in there until towards the end. Right. And that made sense because it's the Joker's story. It's the Joker's origin. But past a certain point, now that he's the Joker, we need to have Batman in it. We need that yin and that yang. We need that contrast. So without it, Joker just gets lost in the sauce in his own movie. So it's just like, what were we thinking? And then Todd Phillips is talking about, I intend to move on from the DC universe. No, they intend to move on from you. They're not handing you the keys to nothing else after this.
Nah, none at all.
They're not giving you another chance. You done. This movie is already tanking at the box office. It's not making anywhere what the original did opening weekend.
They ain't making no profit from this. I can tell you that much.
And this movie cost $200 million. And
they only got what?
One of the most expensive movies ever made.
And you mean, and how much are they making now? Like 70?
Who knows, to be real with you. I haven't checked it, but hey, I ain't got nothing else to say. Disappointment of the year, maybe disappointment of the decade, in my opinion.
I wouldn't say all that.
It's up there for sure.
It is, but I wouldn't say all that.
But yeah, that's all I got to say. So
Same here.
Go ahead.
Like, I'm gonna tell y'all now. Remember to look at the details. Please don't go see this movie.
We're begging you.
We're begging.
Please spend your money on something else.
Go see Transformers 1 again.
See Transformers 1. See Smile 2.
See Smile
anything.
2. Oh yeah.
We got a review coming for that for sure.
Oh yeah,
for sure.
most deaf bros and sisters out there.
Yes, sir.
But with that being said, I've been Jay.
This has been Rodney.
Yeah, LATD. Remember, just look at the details, y'all. Peace.